talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Tuesday night? Hope you're having a good one and you're enjoying it and everything's groovy. Tonight, let me tell you about the life of the legend, Don Rickles. Before we get to that, please like, please share, please subscribe, please retweet, please notification bell. all those free things that help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm. Plus, we have memberships, and we also have, oh man, we've got memberships, we've got super chats, and if I turn on the begging bar here, where I beg you for things, you can see where, you get instructions to turn on gifted memberships that open you up to that exclusive members-only content that we will show you. And this weekend, we'll show you some more of those documentaries I made in 2013 that I might be just a little too scared to show. This fella here, Michael Gardner, says, I saw Don Rickles perform like a month before he died. That is amazing. Says, okay, you've got me, Tom. Michael, thank you so much. If you haven't already, please subscribe and give us a like. Man, oh man. Can you imagine seeing Don Rickles a month before he died? And by the way, and we'll get to it, Don Rickles was in his prime and sharp right up till his final days. So that's a pretty amazing story. That's one for the old memory book. Well done to you, Michael. Let's get to some of your comments very quickly, and then we'll get into tonight's subject. Let's see. Funky Bronco says, can't wait for the show today. I know this is going to be a good one. You say that every day, and I thank you every day. I hope you talk about the Don Rickles at the Dean Martin roasts. Yeah, might come up. Thanks. Actually, those roasts, the Dean Martin roasts were second to the Friars Club roasts. The Friars Club roasts started before the Dean Martin celebrity roasts. They kind of evolved out of those. Let's see. Wolfie's call yesterday was amazing. Aren't they all? Michael Garner, I'm going to put this up again because you can't really, you can't diminish this. I saw Don Rickles perform like a month before he died. Wow. Hey, by the by, remember Chris Cheshire that was coming in here? I miss him. If anybody runs into him, I went and saw he's got some really interesting things on his YouTube page. So he's pretty great. Your name is Hockey Puck? Well, it is for the evening. Coach Mike Rodick says, hello to all my friends in chat. Oh, hey, Tom. Oh, hey, Coach Mike Rodick. Let's see. Michael Garner says he was still doing fun stuff, even though he lost a little bit. Yeah, just a little, but he still, to put on a show like he did, maybe was Don Rickles in the movie either Artie Lang. Are you talking about the movie Dirty Work, where he called him a baby gorilla? I'll get to it. Funky. We don't do the show in the chat room, my brother. Come on, man. Michael Gardner says, you can tell he slowed down, but maybe like 80%. I mean, he was 114 years old. Well, he was 90, soon to be 91 years old when you saw him. So, you could tell even in some of his later talk show appearances that he lost a little edge. But when you consider how lightning he was right up to about the last 5-10 years, it's not that diminished compared to us mortals, because he was always so lightning fast. I'm just knocking things over here and stuff today. I just got back from a run. I'm sorry, and it's just a mess. It's a real mess. To perform that late in life is legendary. It really was. So we might as well get into the topic right now. Let me tell you about Don Rickles. As everyone knows, he was an American stand-up comedian and actor, and he was known as the king of the insult comics. He was a movie star as well. We can't kind of turn our back on that. He tried to be a TV star. He was mostly known on television for his appearances on talk shows, but he did have one at least slivers thin, successful TV show, and many that failed, which Johnny Carson never ceased to tease him about. He was a headliner in Las Vegas for over 50 and I think maybe 60 years. He was a peripheral member of the Rat Pack, had a great friendship with Frank Sinatra, and all the talk shows. Late in his career, he got a resurgence with the younger crowd with the Toy Story franchise, and actually won a Primetime Emmy very late in his career. We'll get to that as well. And why don't we get to the nitty and the gritty of it? Doggone it, I didn't load a few things. I'll load those at the end. He was born in Queens, New York, back in 1926. His father was an immigrant from Lithuania. His mother was born in New York City, and her parents were Austrian. Now, he grew up in Jackson Heights, and after graduating from high school in 1944, Don Rickles enlisted in the United States Navy, which actually became part of his act, and served during World War II on the motor torpedo boat tender, the USS Cyrene, as a seaman first class. He was honorably discharged in 1946. He always used to say if he saw a person of Asian descent, he would say, 2 years in the jungle looking for your father or whatever, your grandfather. Or he also told the story of how when they were in combat for the first time, he told them, look, I do jokes and impressions, and I'm really more of a performer. And his captain said, keep firing. But when you think about it, Don Rickles, a very, very honorably discharged veteran of World War II, which was no joke because he was in the Philippines. So, Anyway, 2 years after he was honorably discharged in 1946, intending to be a dramatic actor, he studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and then played bit parts on television. Now, when he was at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, he actually formed some friendships that would stick with him for the rest of his career. And being a member of the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, that was no joke. That was absolutely no joke. Jason Robards was there when he was there. The year, I think, after him, Grace Kelly was there. Let's see. Let's see here. Come on. Oh, I can't find him. Anyway, 1948. So the 1948 class, he was there sort of when Conrad Bain was there, who you might remember is the father of Mindy on Mork and Mindy. Also the big record producer in the movie The Buddy Holly Story. Colleen Dewhurst was there the year before him, who I believe was, often in the hunt for Academy Awards. Who else was he there with? I mean, he was there with some biggies. Grace Kelly, as I mentioned, was there the year after him. Let's see. I'm going through this whole list because he really deserves some recognition. Jason Robards, as I mentioned, and Jason Robards is like one of the greatest actors in the history of American cinema, for crying out loud. Jason Robards is one of only 24 performers to have achieved the Triple Crown of acting, having earned wins for 2 Academy Awards, a Tony Award, and an Emmy Award. So if you've never seen Jason Robards, check into him. He's quite a stud in the field of acting. Let me see here if I can find anybody else. I believe George C. Scott might have been there, or maybe he knew George C. Scott from something else. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here, Tom Poston, who was like the handyman on the Newhart show, was a member while he was there. The point I'm trying to make is that Don Rickles started off as a dramatic actor. And if I went down the list of people who have actually graduated from this School. Charles Durning. Anybody remember Charles Durning? If if you're a fan of movies in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, you do. If you saw Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, he played the governor that dances on stage with the Soggy Bottom Boys. You know, he was in everything, was Charles Durning, another very versatile actor. But if I went down the list of all the people who were in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, Lauren Bacall, Jim Backus, who we mentioned the other day, Anne Bancroft. If you want to get real old, Frances Bavier, yes, Aunt B was in there. Robbie Benson, who a lot of you may not remember, John Cassavetes, who a lot of people now don't remember, but John Cassavetes was in The Dirty Dozen and was a great director and just a brilliant actor. Cecil B. DeMille, William Devane, Danny DeVito. Look, I'm not going to go through the whole entire list, but the point I'm really trying to emphasize here is that Don Rickles started out as a very, very serious dramatic actor, right? And he did get bit parts on television for just that sort of thing. Now, frustrated by this lack of acting work, and here he is with a well-known actor, right? There he is with Lorne Greene. But this is after Don Rickles had become a comedian. And he became a comedian because he was frustrated by his inability to get serious acting work. And I'm going to touch on this acting thing a little bit later on because I think it's really, really, really important. Now, he started performing in comedy clubs in New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. And how did he become known as an insult comic? Well, he got heckled a lot, especially when he was first starting out. And audiences enjoyed him insulting people in the audience more than his prepared material. So he just turned that into his act. He started to call ill-mannered members of the audience hockey pucks, and he became very famous for that term. His style was similar to some older insult comics. Jackie Leonard was one of the bigger ones, although Rickles denied that Leonard was any part of what he was doing. He said that Milton Berle was more of an inspiration to him. And while working at the Murray Franklin's nightclub in Miami Beach, Florida, during his early career, Rickles spotted Frank Sinatra in the audience and remarked to him, "I just saw your movie, The Pride and the Passion. I want to tell you, the Cannon's acting was great." And then he added, and this was a big one he would hit Frank Sinatra with all the time, hit being tongue-in-cheek. He said, "Make yourself at home, Frank. Hit somebody." Because Frank was known for flying off the handle a little. Now, Sinatra had a pet name for Rickles, which was Bullet Head. And he enjoyed being made fun of by Don Rickles so much that he started encouraging, even taking other celebrities to see Rickles act and to let Rickles insult them. Well, when you got Frank Sinatra in your corner, it's not long before you're going to be called to Las Vegas. And Don Rickles became very quickly just insanely popular headlining act in Las Vegas. During a Dean Martin celebrity roast special, Rickles was one of the people that took part in roasting Sinatra. And on another one in the Dean Martin series, he was roasted himself. Now, I want to point out to people like my good friend Funky Bronco here in the chat room that Don Rickles was on the Friars Club roast, which predated the Dean Martin celebrity roast. And you can see those Friars Club roasts on Film Rise documentaries or Film Rise Presents. Just look up Friars Club roast Don Rickles and you'll see them. And there's a whole season of them. I think there's maybe more than one season. I'm just now watching them. So those actually predated. They were definitely the Friars Club, and they predated the Dean Martin celebrity roast specials. I'm pretty sure. Yes, I'm positive of it. So Rickles earned the nickname the Merchant of Venom, and Johnny Carson, I believe, coined the term Mr. Warmth for poking fun at people of all ethnicities and backgrounds. The music that would introduce him was Spanish matador music, La Virgen de la Macarena, which usually would be played when he came on stage, subtly foreshadowing that somebody was about to get metaphorically gored, okay? He was just about to... And Rickles thought himself, he said, I always pictured myself facing the audience as the matador. So it was, I guess, conceptual for him as well. Let's get to a few of your comments here real quickly, and then we'll get to some of the fabulous, serious, acting that he did. Let's see. Coach Mike Rodig says, since we're on this topic and talking about roast, maybe a show on Foster Brooks. Maybe. I think he's a little further down the line, but we could. Foster Brooks actually has a pretty interesting background. And I might point out, since it's not in my research, but I know this, one of the greatest Dean Martin celebrity roast moments of all times is when Foster Brooks roasts Don Rickles. And if you haven't seen it, I'm not even going to tell you what it's about, other than Foster Brooks usually played someone who was heavily inebriated, and he does in this case. But his roast of Don Rickles as a slightly tipsy, okay, maybe more than slightly tipsy guy, is the stuff of legend. It is amazing. So thanks, Coach Mike, for bringing up the late, great Foster Brooks. I have a problem. I think Foster Brooks is originally from Kentucky, and Indiana and Kentucky have a thing. The wolf is here. The wolf is here. He says, hello, Coach. Funky Michael. Let's see. Chef is in the house. We always love it when the chef gets here. Michael Gardner says, working actors nowadays make fun of AADA. It really isn't what it used to be. It may not be, but for a time it was. So it's like telling people you went to community college. Well, maybe, but a lot of actors nowadays, are they really actors? I mean, can they play more than one role? The vast majority of them cannot. So I don't know how I would feel about that. The Strasberg School and certain other in New York Actors Studio, come on. They output tons and tons and tons of great people. And now it's not as important to be an actor as it is to be a movie and or TV star. And it's how pretty you are, which there was a little of that going on back then. But anyway, the dirty dozen rotten eggs. Yes. Victor says Rickles had a long life. He hung in there a long time. That he did. Michael Gardner says he was so incredibly short, like my height, and I'm minuscule. He was not super tall, no. People saying hi. Shorter people live longer. God, I don't want to hear that. I'm 6'5". Tyler Schollenberger is here. He's from the Quad Cities, our good friend. I always thought I'd see more wheelchairs in the Quad Cities. Just an observation. Just ask Bob Saget. Well, you can slip. That's right. People saying hi. People saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. How did Rickles and Uncle Jesse hook up? I think that had something to do with Bob Saget, Michael Gardner, is that Bob Saget introduced the two of them, and he became real good friends with Stamos. So, but I think Bob Saget had something to do with that, and I know Bob Saget, obviously directed Don Rickles in Dirty Work with Norm Macdonald and Artie Lang. Michael Garner says, I'm sure he'll get to that several decades down the line. Rickles Pickles, Mrs. Pickles. Victor says, my pop was 6'2" and 325 in his prime, lived to 92. Nice. Some people just have a zest for life and refuse to go. That's it. Maybe that's why his intro song is like that. Maybe so. Victor says, why not do a story on Bob Newhart? Well, we'll get to Bob Newhart here in a second. And that is on my list, by the way, Victor. So I will get to Bob Newhart. Coach Mike Rodick is saying hi. People saying hi. Tim Jenkinson says, I'm guessing Tom is talking about Nicolas Cage. I'm not talking about Nicolas Cage, actually. I think Nicolas Cage is a great actor. I think he's a fabulous actor. I think nowadays he does a lot of smaller movies and stuff, but so he's not as in demand as he was. And I admire him actually for cranking out these films. Some of them are extremely interesting, by the way, and I'm a big fan of Nicolas Cage. Kelly's Heroes, Crep Game. Yeah, we'll get to it. Guys, I'm always going to get to it, okay? I really am. I am. I don't do all the research to, you know what I mean? Anyway, Rickles made his film debut in, yes, Run Silent, Run Deep with Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster. Yeah, Burt Lancaster. That's right, Burt Lancaster. I said it, Burt Lancaster. Yeah. He was Quartermaster First Class Ruby in that. Where were you on that one, everybody? Huh? Where were you on trying to do the show in my chat room on that one? Huh? Didn't get that one, did you? You dirty son of a gun. Throughout the 60s, though, he was many times on, like he would be on Medical Center or lots of dramatic series, also in sitcoms. He guest starred on Get Smart as Sid, an old ward buddy of Max's who comes to stay with him, in an episode of Run for Your Life. Anybody remember Run for Your Life? Yeah, I do, with Ben Gazzara. Yeah, I do, because I know more than this, more than you about this stuff. So there, live with that for a while. So anyway, on an episode, I'm just kidding, really. On an episode of Run for Your Life, he portrayed a distressed comedian whose act culminates in him strangling a patron while imploring everybody to laugh. Yeah, it's crazy. He also was very dramatic in a very low-budget movie called X, the Man with the X-Ray Eyes, as a carnival barker out to exploit the title character that was portrayed by Academy Award winner Ray Milland. Now, Don Rickles appeared in a ton of these beach party movies, and he recalled, by the way, in his 2007 memoir, that at a White House dinner, Barbara Bush teased him unmercifully about being in those movies, which I imagine that was a an interesting experience because number one, to have Barbara Bush kind of teasing you about anything is a little bit weird, but there's no comeback for that. The reason he was in those is Rickles' agent, Jack Gilardi, was married to Annette Funicello, and that's how he got in them. So, and this is also when he started appearing more frequently on talk shows like The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, frequent guest and a host. Yeah, he would host The Tonight Show for a week while Johnny was gone. He started all that in 1965, and subsequently he appeared as a guest or a guest host more than 100 times on The Tonight Show during the Johnny Carson era. An early highlight is that 1968 episode when two Japanese women, were giving Carson a bath and a foot massage, and Rickles walked into the set and Carson pulled him into the bath. But anyway, he was also a very frequent guest on the Dean Martin Show, which was a variety show kind of thing, and a fixture on those Dean Martin celebrity roast specials. He recorded a live comedy album entitled Hello Dummy, which I actually have. Let me grab that file. I downloaded it earlier, but I didn't load it in before the show began, so I got to vamp a little bit here. Oh, come on. Thank you, StreamYard. Thank you. Not just going to load that up for me. You're going to... Okay, here we go. It's called Hello Dummy. Here it is. I actually own this on CD. I really do. And here's the interesting thing about this album. It has only one track. There are no track notes, like a lot of comedy albums, it'll say, flying on airplanes or whatever the topics are. No, not this one. Only one track. So he released this comedy album in 1968. It's really good. It gives you the exact feel of Don Rickles, and at that time in his career, it reached number 54 on the Billboard 200's album chart. He starred on his own little show on ABC that very same year. Here he is with Louise Sorel, and it was called The Don Rickles Show, okay, with comedy writer Pat McCormick as his sidekick. But it only lasted 17 episodes and was replaced by a primetime version of the Let's Make a Deal game show. Yeah. Now, during the 1960s, Don Rickles made appearances on the Dick Van Dyke Show, The Munsters, The Addams Family, The Mothers-in-Law, Gilligan's Island, Get Smart, The Twilight Zone episode, Mr. Dingle the Strong, The Andy Griffith Show, Gomer Pyle, USMC, and I Dream of Jeannie, among others. Now, Wolf, yes, he had a notable role as Crap Game. You see him there to the far left in Kelly's Heroes, starring Clint Eastwood. And he shares that marquee poster with Donald Sutherland and Telly Savalas and Carol O'Connor. The funny part about this is he remained friends with Telly Savalas for the rest of his years. And apparently, as like the Hollywood legend has it, they were over in Yugoslavia shooting this movie. And there was quite a bit of carousing that went on during the production of this thing, to the point where when he was at American Film Institute events, Telly Savalas would always, not Telly Savalas, Don Rickles would always say to or about Clint Eastwood, remember, Clint, I got stuff on you from back in 1970. And also, he would also make fun of Clint Eastwood. He's like, I worked on Kelly's Heroes with him in 1970. What's happened since? Not a call. Phone has never rung once. Clint's idea of a good time is sitting on his pickup truck and watching his dog bark. He roasts Eastwood pretty good in his American Film Institute tribute. But anyway, in 1972, he starred in The Don Rickles Show, his second series with that exact same title, which lasted for 13 episodes before it was, canceled. But he also starred in a series of television specials. And in his memoirs, Rickles said that a scripted sitcom was not well suited to his ad-lib style of performing. And he said he never ever wrote down jokes, so doing jokes that were written down wasn't necessarily his thing. Johnny Carson once remarked that Don Rickles has taken down more pilots than Pearl Harbor, because, Carson liked to get even once in a while, just once in a while. Starting in 1973, that's when those Dean Martin roasts started taking place. Now, again, the Friars Club roasts, which were also televised, predate those by 2 or 3 years. But the Dean Martin roasts, he was always a member of, as he was the Friars Club roasts. Check them out. They're on YouTube. He starred in C.P.O. Sharkey from 1976 to 1978. He certainly did, as I will show you momentarily as I vamp to do so, to show you momentarily that he did. But C.P.O. Sharkey actually got decent ratings, okay? And by the way, C.P.O. Sharkey was a show that they actually turned his ad-libbing into part of the program. They didn't try to fence him in with the usual sitcom pablum, if you will. And I'm going to tell you about the legendary cigarette box incident in just a second, in case anybody's trying to beat me to the punch here. You know what I'm talking about? I think some of you know what I'm talking about. Here he is in CPO Sharkey. That lasted 2 seasons, but probably the series is best remembered for the legendary cigar box incident when, hold on. When Johnny Carson was out of town and Bob Newhart was actually guest hosting The Tonight Show, and he had on, as he usually would, his very dear friend, Don Rickles. Well, Rickles had stopped smoking, and he was doing some sort of prop work with Johnny's legendary wooden cigar box, which he had had since 1967, and he broke it. He broke it. And the very next night that Carson was back, Doc Severinsen reveals to him that Rickles broke the cigarette box and that Rickles was shooting CPO Sharkey on the very next set over. And Carson, this is legendary. You see it on all of the best of Carson types of shows. He gets a microphone. He said, "Can I get over there?" They give him a microphone with a really long cord, and he goes in and breaks into the live taping of CPO Sharkey and gives Don Rickles heck. He gives him heck, I'll say. So there you are. It's so funny, too. I just watched it again just recently, and it is so hilarious because Carson goes in there, and it's like their roles are reversed. Carson is the insult comic, and he starts taking him apart. And at one point, he goes, "I understand you broke this cigarette box. I've had this since we came from New York." And Don Rickles is like, I. You know, he's so mad at him. So Johnny Carson gets mad at him. They kind of make up. Johnny Carson starts to leave, and Don Rickles goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Carson." And Johnny Carson just loses it. He goes, "They know who I am." It's a brilliant piece of television. And Rickles responded by saying he would replace the cigarette box with an x-ray of Johnny Carson's lungs. Anyway, it's a little ironic because Johnny Carson died of emphysema. But anyway, we'll just move past that. Don Rickles occasionally appeared as a panelist on Hollywood Squares. He was actually depicted in the comic book world by Jack Kirby, legendary comic book artist Jack Kirby, during his work on the Jimmy Olsen Superman comic. In the early 1980s, Rickles began to perform with Steve Lawrence in concerts in Las Vegas, and in 1983, they co-hosted Foul Ups, Bleeps, and Blunders, which was an imitation of TV's Bloopers and Practical Jokes, because you can't have enough of those shows. In 1982, he was in Death of a Lodger in an episode of Archie Bunker's Place. In 85, when Frank Sinatra was asked to organize and perform at Ronald Reagan's second presidential inauguration celebration, he insisted that Rickles be allowed to perform and to do it unrehearsed and uncensored. He said, "If you don't got Rickles, you don't got me." And Rickles considered his performance that night the highlight of his career. Webster hands him I won't get into all of the completely politically incorrect things he was saying that night, but he said quite a few of them. I like it when he makes fun of Reagan and he goes, Ronnie's over there looking at the program going, "Where does it say he makes fun of me? Where does it say that?" Anyway, In 1990, this was actually a really great appearance for Don Rickles. In 1990, he appeared in the second season episode of Tales of the Crypt entitled The Ventriloquist Dummy, which is it's really a great episode. He was cast in Innocent Blood, directed by John Landis, and Rickles wrote that he recalled Landis as a production assistant during the filming of Kelly's Heroes, which John Landis was, as like 19 years old. And during the filming of Innocent Blood, Rickles would kid Landis by ordering him to get coffee or run other errands, belittling his one-time gopher status. Rickles starred in another short-lived sitcom called Daddy Dearest with Richard Lewis. He famously played Billy Sherbert in Casino, and he voiced Mr. Potato Head in the Disney and Pixar films by Toy Story movies. So there you go. Later on, he was in a dream sequence. He appeared as himself on The Unit. In 1980, Simon & Schuster released his memoir titled Mr. Warmth. It's called Rickles' Book. It was his memoir called Rickles' Book. And Mr. Warmth, the Don Rickles Project, which you can see for free, by the way, on YouTube. Mr. Warmth, the Don Rickles Project, a documentary about Rickles directed by John Landis, made its debut in December of 2007 on HBO. He won a Primetime Emmy Award for this. Outstanding individual performance in a variety or music program, beating out Letterman, Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, and others. In 2009, Rickles appeared on Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List, and met Griffin's mother, Maggie, to fulfill one item on Maggie's bucket list. Kathy Griffin's mother wanted to meet Don Rickles more than anything. So, at any rate, he reprised his role on the Toy Story movies as Mr. Potato Head, and he reunited with his Casino co-star Joe Pesci in a Snickers ad in 1995 that sort of made fun of both of them having a short fuse. He also portrayed the supposedly late husband of Betty White on Hot in Cleveland, and that was a surprise because that character was believed to have been deceased. He was honored, and if you've never seen this, it might be available somewhere for free. It was called Spike TV did One Night Only, an all-star comedy tribute to Don Rickles. And this was recorded in New York City's Apollo Theater. And let me tell you what, all the biggies were there. I mean, all the biggies. Jerry Seinfeld was the master of ceremonies. There were live monologues. People came up on stage and did this. Johnny Depp, Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Jon Stewart, David Letterman, Tracy Morgan, newsman Brian Williams, Regis Philbin, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, who apparently have to be part of everything. Recorded segments were from Bob Newhart, Bill Cosby, Jimmy Kimmel, and Eddie Murphy. Seinfeld described Rickles as part of the Mount Rushmore of stand-up comedy. He was still a frequent guest on late-night talk shows, including Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, amongst others, and also Letterman. On May 11th, 2015, Rickles appeared as a guest on one of the final episodes of The Late Show with David Letterman. He also made a cameo appearance in Grandfathered, which was a sitcom about sort of old people. In an interview in 2014, he dismissed thoughts of retiring, saying, "I'm in good health. I'm working better than I ever have. My audiences are great. Why should I retire? I'm like a fighter. The bell rings and you come out and fight. My energy comes alive and I still enjoy it." Up until his death in 2017, despite being impeded by multiple surgeries following a bout with necrotizing fasciitis, in 2013, he continued touring across the United States. He was slated to reprise his role as Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story 4, but he died before any lines of dialogue could be recorded. With permission from his wife, Barbara, they used archival audio from the previous 3 Toy Story films to honor him and dedicate to his memory. So there you go. And speaking of his wife, I'll get to that and his personal life in a second, because I do want to catch up with all of your fabulous comments. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. We really need those likes. We really need those subscribes. Only cost you a click. Even if you never come back again, that's just fine. It doesn't matter. That helps us with the algorithm, the almighty, all of that stuff. We also have super chats and memberships. Man, we love it when you do that, because it helps us pay the bills around here, and that's like super awesome. And we also have gifted memberships. Somebody may just gift you a membership out of the goodness of their heart, which is kind of the best way to donate, because you're coughing up a little, you look cool to everybody else, and somebody else gets a membership. And by the way, this weekend, members only on Sunday, I'll be showing 2 documentaries that have been privated on YouTube since about 2013. And when you see them, you'll know why I made them private. I think that's all I have to say about that. Wow, I got a lot of clips to get through here, and I'm going to do that. It's going to be great. Let's see here. Cage was good in Saving Arizona. Yeah, he was pretty good in Leaving Las Vegas. I think he won an Academy Award. Ron Rickles says, E-villain. Okay. Coach Mike Rodick says, hey, Tom, don't forget about, never mind, you'll get to it. Yes, I will. At the end of the thing, then tell me. That's when I love to hear about things I didn't cover. During the thing, Tim Jenkins says, Raising Arizona, wasn't it? Yes, it was Raising Arizona. It was. The Teasing Bush. Yeah, I guess you could call her that. I guess, Tom. Let's see here. That was his best movie. I don't know. He's awful good in The Rock. He's good in a lot of things, I think, Nicolas Cage. He broke Johnny's cigar box. Yes, Michael Gardner. Famously, he did. That's such a great clip. That gal, Holly Hunter or something. Good also. Yes. They don't make late night shows like that anymore. Well, the stars on them aren't as big, And nobody, even, I'm a Letterman guy. He's my guy. But even Letterman says Carson was the greatest. He just was the greatest at everything. And I tend to agree. Warford said, you really want to open it up? What are you, some kind of jerk? You're probably the kind of guy who would prescribe German chocolate as a study aid. Well, hello, people saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. I don't know the name. I know the name, Run Silent, Wrote Deep. Don't remember the movie. Oh, Run Silent, Run Deep is a great movie. God, is it good. And Rickles used to always say those 2 stars were totally different about how they approached acting. Burt Lancaster was like, you got to learn everything. You got to know about the submarine. What makes it go up? What makes it go down? Learn about it. And then Clark Gable was, don't do that. Just learn your lines and don't miss your marks. You'll be okay, kid. You'll be okay. They were totally different, but they were both great at what they did. So I guess there's more than one way to skin a cat. Oh, here's Bob Newhart, his longtime, very close personal friend. I think that's about enough. Let's get back to this guy here. Come on. It's just they just keep ruining it. They just keep ruining it. Let's see. One track plus press play. Yes. Hello Dummy just has one 37-minute track on the CD. I assume it's split down the middle into half 37. Half 36 is 18, so 18 and change on each side, maybe on the other. Yeah, I'm going to leave that up. That's pretty good. Wow. I'm starting to feel the negative vibes. Well, Telly, I'll just correct that, Savalas. I just think of the Twilight Zone episode about the evil doll, talking Tina. Scary, very scary. What's with the OCD obsession with the cigar box? Well, it wasn't necessarily an OCD obsession. It's just that back in those days, people smoked on TV. I mean, they're smoking like crazy on those Friars Club roasts. Oh my gosh, they're smoking like a chimney. And Johnny was a well-known smoker, and he had it was a very tasteful little cigar box that someone had given him. So Rickles was pretending like he was stamping papers or something, and that's when he broke it. And even when he broke it out of there, he went, like he knew he'd done something wrong. Doc Severinsen from my hometown, Silverton, Oregon, says Victor. I didn't know Doc was from Oregon. I did not know that. This thing here says Arlington, Oregon, but I know those things can be wrong. Let me see here. Wowie kazowie. I always thought that he was from down here in Texas because I think, has lived down here in Texas for a long, long time. Somewhere down yonder way. You know, now there's a great guy to do. We need to do all of the old Tonight Show. You know, all of those guys, Doc Severinsen and Ed McMahon, and of course, Johnny. And we could do the earlier ones. We could do Steve Allen and Jack Parr. But that'd be a great idea. Thanks for mentioning that, Victor. I think Doc Severinsen would be a great one. I saw him at Ball State, I think. Coach Mike Rodick says, heck, whoa, Tom, easy on the profanity. I know, I working blue tonight. Sometimes it's better to smoke a cigarette, says Kojak. Thanks, Lucas Malago. Lucas Malago, I do have to say, Lucas Malago is, man, does he share this show on his Twitter. And, you know, if you can do that on Twitter or on Facebook or wherever you share programs, that'd be really awesome because that means you approve. But anyways, I like that. But anyways, what do you want, Coach? He's a real jerk. The guy's a real jerk. He's a dirty son of a gun. Kojak, too, I remember. Who loves you, baby? Hey, Pepe Sylvia. Salute to you, my man. Salute to you. Victor says, My name is Talking Tina, and I'm here too. Yes. Dupa Dupa Doo has made the scene. It ain't a show till Dupa gets here. Hi, Dupa. Hello, Peppy. Welcome, my friend, to the show that never ends. Step inside. Step inside. People saying hi, people saying stuff, makes my neck hurt. Victor says, I remember Mr. Carson's last broadcast of The Tonight Show, 1992, I think. He had a long run. I remember, I think it was the next to the last one where Bette Midler was on. Was it the last? Let's see here. Bette Midler last Tonight Show. No, I think the last Tonight Show was just Johnny showing clips. So his final guest on the Tonight Show, and you're correct, in 1992 was Bette Midler, and she was wearing a dress with XOXO on it, and Miss M sang Miss Otis Regrets. Here's That Rainy Day, and apparently Here's That Rainy Day was one of Johnny's favorite songs. She did You Made Me Watch You, which is obviously a great song to have on for Johnny Carson. And then the extremely memorable One for My Baby and One More for the Road. The rest of the evening, Carson did a speech on his very last show at the very beginning, and then the rest of the evening was video clips, a farewell to announcer Ed McMahon and Doc Severinsen, a behind-the-scenes look at how the show was produced, And Johnny's closing remarks capped by his poignant final words, "I wish you a heartfelt good night." And that was it. And we'll cover that when we do Johnny Carson, but we take detours here sometimes. I still have to get to the personal life of Don Rickles. Let's see. People saying hi. People saying hi. Victor says, some people in Oregon, ranchers especially, have what sounds like a southern drawl. Yeah, I always imagine that. And I think he does live down here now. I'm not positive about that, but I think he does. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. It's happened. People saying hi. Pepe says, I got you. Pepe Sylvia, always appreciate you being here. Funky Bronco saying you're a good man, Wolfie. Continuing his bromance with the wolf and Doc Torn. Victor says she was on the last one. No, I think technically, Victor, she was on the next to the last one. Almost positive about that. Funky, I have been given the black spot. Only me and the wolf know what he's talking about there, and I think that's probably for the best. Don Rickles' personal life. In 1965, Rickles married Barbara Sklar of Philadelphia. He admitted to having a very difficult time romantically in his 20s and 30s, and he met Sklar through his agent when he was 38 years old, and he fell for her when she failed to get his sense of humor. Listen, I'm a person. He used to imitate her like crazy. I married a Valium on the wedding night. She said, "Is that about it?" Anyway, they had two children, Mindy, an actress, and Larry, a producer, who died of pneumonia at the age of 41. According to Rickles' memoir, his grandchildren, Ethan and Harrison, were much more impressed by his role as Mr. Potato Head than by anything else he ever did. He used to say, "Pop, pop" as Mr. Potato Head. His wife died from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma about 4 years after Don Rickles, and she died exactly 56 years to the day after the couple married. Rickles had befriended mobster Crazy Joe Gallo during a performance at the Copacabana in 1972, and afterwards they became friends. Gallo, who Rickles had mercilessly made fun of during his set, despite being warned not to do such a thing, accepted these insults in very good humor and invited him to dinner afterwards at Umberto's Clam House. Rickles said, "No, I'm busy." Well, that night, the gunfight of all gunfights erupted at Umberto's, killing Joey Gallo. And that whole thing is dramatized in the movie The Irishman. He performed at the inauguration, as I mentioned earlier, of Ronald Reagan and also George H.W. Bush with his friend Frank Sinatra. Although Rickles himself was a lifelong Democrat, he considered Bob Newhart his very best friend, and the two often vacationed together along with their wives, and their wives got along very well, were extremely close. Rickles and Newhart appeared together on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno the Monday following Johnny Carson's death in 2005, reminiscing about their many guest appearances on the show. The two also appeared together on the television sitcom Newhart, and for previous episodes of The Tonight Show, where either one of them were the guest host. So if Rickles was the guest host, he'd have Newhart on as a guest, and if Newhart was the guest host, he'd have Rickles on. The friendship was memorialized in Bob and Don, A Love Story, and that's a 2023 short documentary film by Judd Apatow that features interviews and home movies of both of the families, and I've seen it, and it's actually a really nice little documentary. You might try to find it on your Roku or wherever else. Sadly, on April 6th, 2017, Don Rickles died of kidney failure at his home in Century City, Los Angeles, at the age of 90. He was buried at Mount Sinai Memorial Park Cemetery. Many television hosts paid tribute to his comedic talents, with Conan O'Brien, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyers, and David Letterman among them. Basically all the late-night hosts of the time that had benefited from his great appearances on their show. Barbra Streisand, Billy Crystal, Mel Brooks, Ron Howard, Chris Rock, Patton Oswalt, Jim Carrey, Ricky Gervais, and Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Whoopi Goldberg, all paying tribute to him. Bob Newhart said in a statement, "He was called the Merchant of Venom, but in truth, he was one of the kindest, caring, most sensitive human beings we have ever known. We are devastated and our world will never be the same. We were totally unprepared for this." Martin Scorsese, who directed him in Casino in 1995, stated, "Don Rickles was a giant, a legend, and I can hear his voice now, skewering me for being so lofty. I had the honor of working with him on my picture Casino. He was a professional. He kept me doubled over with laughter every day on the set, yet he was a complete pro. We became friends over the years, and I had the honor of being roasted by him more than once, sometimes when I didn't expect it. He just started showing up at places and insulting me. Experiencing Don, tuning into his mind, I witnessed the evolution of his comedy. It was like listening to a great jazz musician wail. Nobody else did what he did. He made comedy into an art form, and like all geniuses, comic or otherwise, he's irreplaceable, and he was much loved. I'm really missing this man." There you are. There you are. He has a star for Lifetime Achievement on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He has a Primetime Emmy Award that he won for Mr. Worth, the Don Rickles Project, a TV Land Legend Award, the Comedy Awards. He won the Johnny Carson Award for Lifetime Achievement in 2012, and the New York Friars Club awarded him a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2013. So there we go. Let's just get to the rest of your fabulous clips. I'll get to this. Why don't I just put this album up here that he did? He did only 2 albums. One was Hello, Dummy. Another one was called Don Rickles Speaks, and it was just basically Don Rickles talking about big stars and stuff. So I've never seen it. I've never heard it. But it has a picture of Don Rickles on the cover, and I recommend that you buy it if you see it. All right, let me see here. Where did I leave off? People saying hi. Oh, I already got that one. By the way, Ruta Lee was on here last week. How about that? Oh, I know where I ended up. The black spot. That only Wolf and I know what that even refers to. Okay. His wife was the ultimate good sport. Victor says, Phil Harris cracked me up. It's a mad, 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 mad world. So many class acts on that movie. Well, every major comedian in Hollywood was in on that movie. Phil Harris is on the Friars Club roast of Jack Benny, which you can see on YouTube for free. Gotta say Friars Club. And those predated, as I mentioned, again, the Dean Martin roast. The Wolf says, how about Alice Faye? Well, Alice Faye was more famous than Phil Harris. I think she might have won an Academy Award. Victor says, the clip where Jim Backus is drunk and passes out in the... Yes, we covered that the last time, Victor. Thank you. My friend and coworker watched the filming of Casino in Las Vegas. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. But Alice Faye was kind of the joke on the Phil Harris Alice Faye show, was that she was the more popular of the two, don't you know? But she was a big, big musical star, and did, you know, You'll Never Know, which the song won the Academy Award. Her version of the song won the Academy Award. But she was a big movie star. Big movie star. And it was often a joke in the Phil Harris Alice Faye show that she had married down and that he had married up. But she did Alexander's Ragtime Band and everything else, everything else. I don't recall if I got to meet Alice Faye when I met Phil Harris. I honest to goodness don't recall. I just don't recall. Daggone it. I do not recall. I just don't recall. But she and Phil Harris were married forever. It was a long time. That was a long, long time. I don't remember if she was there. He did a thing in Linton, Indiana. Let's see here. Dupa's got a request. Tom, I have a show request. Your top 10 to 20 favorite moments of either The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson or Late Night with David Letterman. Ooh, boy, Dupa. I'm telling you what, that is a tall order, but I like it. I like it. Let's see. Top 10 Letterman, Carson. I almost feel like I should do top 10 Letterman and top 10 Carson. Man, oh man. I am at a hotel, another long-term residence here, film, movies, and houses. Wow, Victor. Swanky. Somebody's doing well. Funky Brown says, Don Rickles treated Sammy Davis Jr. very badly. Well, I think in jest, yes, he probably did. I know they were very close friends. The Wolf says you couldn't possibly forget meeting Alice. Wolf, that was a time of I drove out to Linton, for crying out loud, and I remember meeting Phil. I just can't remember. It's all a blur, Sammy Davis, very good in the song Mr. Bojangles. Sammy Davis, yes. Let me see here. Let me just see here with his personal life. Resident. I thought there was something. Oh, here you go. Let's see. He was a benefactor of his birthplace in Linton, Indiana, establishing scholarships in honor for promising high school students, performing at the high school, hosting a celebrity golf tournament in his honor every year. And they donated most of their show business memorabilia and papers to Linton's Public Library. Harris was inducted to the Indiana Hall of Fame. I just can't remember, doggone it. And it was kind of he was surrounded with people the whole time. He was so funny and so fun. Phil Harris's his actual first name was Wonga. Wonga. Why ask? I don't know what you're talking about. Not many people live in motels. None of your business. Okay. 10 would be great, but I don't think you could pick only 10. That's Aspire 10 for 20. Well, if I did 10 of each, I could probably do it. I bet you I could do it. I think that'd be the fun of it. I could do top 10 Carson and top 10 Letterman. Of course, one of the top 10 Letterman would be one that nobody would consider a top. Oh, by the way, that's what I got to tell you about Don Rickles. The top 10 would be one that not many people would consider a top 10 because it would be the show that I was in, one of the shows anyway, that I was in the audience of. So, but yeah. That last episode of Letterman, the next to the last one of Carson, maybe the last one of Carson's not as great as the next to the last one. I'm telling you what, you want to talk about emotional for me. In what was it, 2015? So I get that scholarship in 1986, I think it was. So let's make it 85 just to make the math easier. So 85 to 2015 is 30 years. That's 30 years of my life that I could, anytime I want, while I was associated with Letterman through the scholarship, watch David Letterman. Anybody I was with, I could go, I'm the first recipient of the David Letterman, that bing, and that all ended. And I happened to have been, this is no joke, I was driving a car to Las Vegas to meet with some people, and then driving, and this is from Utah. So I flew to Utah, hung out with my relative there, and then drove to Vegas to meet with some people. And then I was going to drive to LA, and then I was going to drive back along the southern coast of the United States. And the car broke down just outside of Vegas, like an hour outside. And it took several days to get it fixed because I had to have it taken to the place. Then I had to look at it. That took a day. Then it had a day to get the part and then a day to repair it. So I was in Las Vegas for the last Letterman show. And I mean, I was emotional. I was an emotional wreck watching all of that. Anyway, PGH, that's the best I can do for you, bro, because I can't put that on my screen. But I will do this for you. I will do this. I will do that for you. H2BH, my man, or lady, whatever you happen to be. Well, there you go. There you are. Victor, chill out. You dig? Yeah, everybody just chill out. Yeah, Funky Bronco would like some alcohol. Big surprise there. Victor says, I just remember when Letterman switched to CBS, working in a podunk town, doing forestry, staying in a motel. Yeah, that was a big deal. The night that Letterman had his last night, Conan and I think Jimmy Kimmel, but I know for a fact Conan said, don't watch this show. Watch his show. And it just kind of sat around doing nothing the whole time. The Wolf says, Funky, do you mean Mr. Big Dig It? You mean Can You Dig It? Or do you mean Dig It from Parliament? Or do you mean Can You Dig It from the Warriors? Can you dig it? Cyrus says that in the Warriors. So anyway, I think that's about the end of our show tonight, unless somebody wants me to turn on the phone lines, which I can. I will for a couple minutes. What the heck? I think tomorrow night I have decided, unless you guys have something you'd like better, I want to do Brian's song. I want to do the made-for-TV movie Brian's song. Not the remake. I won't hardly even mention the remake. But I want to do Brian's song because we did the thing about what was it? Duel, which is one of the greatest made-for-TV movies of all time. And I just feel like doing Brian's song. I just do. So, I just kind of do. By the way, we do have memberships. We do have super chats. They help us pay the bills around here. Just saying. Tonight's one of those nights. I didn't really feel like doing a show. A lot of nights I don't. And, it's one of those things that keeps old Tom motivated. And why wouldn't it? I'm just saying. A little something for the effort. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, I couldn't remember his name. It's Cyrus. Funky, don't ask personal questions. Are you 12 years old? Hey, Victor, don't let Funky bother you. Just kind of go, yeah, okay. That's what I've had to learn to do. Doc says, hail Wolf, Dupa, Peppy, Doc, Funky, and our most wonderful host, Tom Gulley. Hey, right back at you, Doc Torn. I was talking about you earlier in the show, I think. No, I was just wondering to myself, where Doc is. But always good to see you, Doc. Victor says, I remember Brian's song. What a great movie. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Dupa says, bow to Doc. Well, the Wolf says, haven't you done Brian's song a couple years ago? I don't think I did. Did I? I don't think I did. The Irishman is a great movie. You're right about that, Tyler Schoenberg. Okay, Megabit Banshee says, I want to hear Tom's top worst celebrity meets. Oh. Well, I'll tell you my worst celebrity of all time if you want to hear it right now. I'll tell you that right now. Tyler, I agree, it is great. Or was that Gail? Oh, no. Gail said, I don't think I've done Brian's song, have I? This is where it gets bad, is when I don't remember the things I've done. Because I've got some other... I was going to do Dick Prenicky, who's this amazing outdoorsman guy that defies explanation and gravity. I could do Jiffy Pop. I was saving that maybe for Friday. Nick Rowe. Hey, you know what? I haven't done Nick Rowe. Could also do Nick Rowe. I had that planned, and then we had a technical snafu, and it never got done. Fairness Doctrine. I could do Section 230. I'll do something. Oh, boy. Haven't seen Brian's song since I was junior high. Pepe Sylvia says, have a good one, y'all. You have a good one, too, Pepe Sylvia. You have done it. Really? Hold on. No, I haven't. I'm going to double make sure of that, but I don't think I have. You know, sometimes people are just a real jerk. I'm telling you what. Occasionally, people are just a real jerk. I may have talked about it during the Tear Jerkers episode, but I haven't done a whole episode on Brian's song. I haven't. I don't think so. I don't think I'm wrong about this. I really don't think I'm wrong. Let me see something here. Let's search this channel. This channel has no content that matched Brian's song. You know, the Wolf, he just is a real jerk. Just a real jerk. Let's hear it be as petty as possible. Let's hear it be as petty as possible. Oh, yeah, you want me to tell about my worst celebrity ever? Okay, went against my own rule. Just laugh off the trolls. He's not a troll. He just maybe has had a few too many. Dooba says, Tom, is it Savini? Two people told me he was really sweet, but it sounds like you have a different opinion. Oh, I have a big different opinion. But I don't even consider him a celebrity, to be honest with you. Doopa says, have a good night, Peppy. You do that, Peppy. You do that. Don't just do something. Do it with Zapavatine. We talked about it. We talked about it doesn't mean I did a show on it. I just talked about Johnny Carson. Did I do a show on Johnny Carson? No, I didn't do a show on Johnny. You guys, I remember. I have seen real live wolves in my work. I've seen them in my dormitory. All right, the worst celebrity. For me, wow, that's a toughie. Because I just thought of a couple more. JMO Productions, John Mick. Are you from, is it County Cork or is it Canada? I forget which. There's a guy from we haven't talked to you in a while, but I think you were going to have a kid and you'd gotten some movie work or some work to do some industrial films or commercials or something. You got to reintroduce yourself, man. I forget. Oh, Saskatchewan, Canada. That's it. There's another guy that's John McSomething that has Something Productions that's from Ireland. He's over there in Ireland, you know. I didn't think was let's see here. I'm about to tell you about my worst celebrity. Well, let's just do this. Will be easier. These people show up at the end of the show, and then I gotta film. Let's see. No, I don't think he was in Ocean's 11. He wasn't in Ocean's 11. What are you talking about? You Canadians come down here, you get ticked off about the tariffs, and then you just start spreading misinformation down here. Well, I've had it. Wolf and Tom bickering cracks me up. We're not really bickering, you know. Forestry. I imagine if you're in forestry, you see wolves all the time. Saskatchewan, Canada. You just came here. You just threw off the whole vibe of the show, John. No, I'm kidding. You guys up there in Saskatchewan are great friends of the show, and I appreciate you being here. Save it for a show idea. No, I don't want to. I want to tell you now. Never scare me. Wolves eyeballed me, though. Well, I don't think there's been but one, lethal wolf attack in history or something like that. It's some bizarre statistic along those lines. Technically, it was during a show, Tearjerkers, or some such things. Yeah, don't some such thing me on that when you said, and then it wasn't. Doc said, you remember that blush Tom had while interviewing Ruta Lee? I'm getting it now, too. Ruta Lee was on this show. I'm still all tingly. All right, the very first, Doopadoopadoo says, John McJam has a YouTube channel. I'll check it out when this show ends. You should. He's a good guy. Him and I think his brother listen. I don't think anybody's here from the old days when the guy it was another guy named John McSomething. He was from the County Cork. He was expecting a child, and he had just gotten some large contract to do some commercials. But I'm sorry for not knowing John JMO Productions. I apologize. What about werewolves? Werewolves are cute. They are cute. Okay, you know the chick that played Batgirl, Yvonne Craig? She was this was back in 1995. It's enough talk about wolves, you jerks. This is back in 1995. And, everybody can have a bad day. Let's see here. John says, oh, right, I was totally wrong. It wasn't Ocean's 11. It was Casino. He was the right-hand man. Yes, he was Billy Sherbert. It's very good. I think Joe Pesci throws a phone on his back or something. But yes, John, thanks for being here, by the way. Wolf finds himself, becomes a werewolf. Doc, that's pretty good. Okay, here's the deal. Yvonne Craig, she, I forget why I got access to her. Maybe she had a book coming out, or I don't know what it was. So she was scheduled to be on at a certain time over the phone. And it was getting very close. In fact, I think it was 5 minutes after the time she was supposed to be on. And we had a contact number for her. And basically the reason we had it was so that we could tell it was her calling if somebody called in. We had caller ID at that time. And I'm pretty sure this is what happened. Yeah, we had caller ID. So my producer, trying to be proactive, called that number. And I had opened the program, and I went to commercial because I wanted to see, is she going to be on or not? Because she was supposed to be here 5 minutes ago, and she's not. And so I went to a break, and I went back into the producer's booth where she was on speaker. He had her on speaker, and she was just lambasting him for calling her. And it was just a young kid, and just was doing what he thought was right. I picked up the phone. I said, Miss Gregg, I apologize. We didn't know if you were going to be on. He was being proactive. He's a very young man. He just was doing what he thought was best. I will talk to him about that, which I did. I kind of wanted to say, be on time and you won't have this problem. But it was a little bit of a breach of protocol. You normally don't call. You just blow it off and move on. But so then she got on the air with me, and we didn't discuss what she had done earlier, but she was being a complete pain. She was being very obstinate, and I was throwing her softballs, man. I was like, so you were a ballet dancer before you even started on television. Could you talk about the training? And it, well, obviously, she was just being, and so like about, I guess it was about two, 3 questions into it, I just went, I get the feeling you'd like to be somewhere else, and guess what? I'm going to make that dream come true for you. It's been a pleasure talking to her. And then she starts protesting like, oh, no, I'm more than happy to be here. Well, you don't sound like it. Cursing out my producer, also not likely to garner you any favorites. And then I said something that I regret to this day, which was, it's not 1967 anymore. There's probably more people I have to explain who is Yvonne Craig than not. I think you're tremendously talented. I've always liked your work, but boy, oh boy, don't meet your idols. I'm just going to let you go. Thank you for making the time. And that was that. But she was just, if you had heard the way she talked to my producer, it was absolutely just, you just wouldn't talk to somebody that way. It was demeaning. And then she started in on me a little bit during the thing. So I said, hey, look, I don't think I said it's not 19. I think I said, hey, things aren't what they once were. I think I said something cryptic like that. I don't think I was as mean as I'm making myself out to be. But I was very upfront about, hey, I think you'd probably like to be somewhere else, and I think it's maybe better if we just cut this right here. Thank you for the time. And she protested a little bit. I said, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And that was it. But that's the worst any celebrity has ever been to me. And frankly, if she hadn't been that way with my producer, I would have been happy to take the heat. That would have been fine with that. But treating a kid that was I don't even think he was out of college. I think he was in his senior year of college, and he was coming in and producing my show. And anyway, from Batman Forever? No, from Batman, the 1966 TV show. Sorry, watched one Batman movie in 1989. The Wolf says, how dare you? That is a disgrace to all racologists. Who, her? I beg to differ. Not that she wasn't fetching. She was very fetching, but I just realized he's the guy from Casino. Yes, Yvonne Craig was a real Karen. She really was to me. I think Nicolas Cage was also in the movie Casino. No, he wasn't. The Wolf says it's a black eye to the Poochie Revolution. Well, maybe. Thankfully, Cage wasn't in it. I like the Catwoman, the Batwoman series. Oh, those were good. Econ something. What? Yvonne. What? Casino. Yvonne. He was in a movie about a casino, I think. Doctrine says Tom shutting down celebs on air was such class. I don't know about that. She was a real jerk. Well, she kind of was. My Tom Savini story, he was a jerk, but not in public, nor was I to him. So I'm waiting for, how old is he? So I will really go into that story when the time is right, but that was not public. That was just on the phone and once in person. One time in person. So I've got other ones. I've got one of a professional baseball player that I could tell, but this guy doesn't need any more bad stories to be told about him. He's got enough. Victor says, I have been pretty quiet. Yeah, we respect your discretion, Victor, on that. Anyway, it doesn't look like we're going to get any calls, so I will shut down the phone lines. And tomorrow night, I still don't know what we're going to do. Oh, man. Let me go over this. I kind of feel like doing Brian's song, but I don't see a lot of really great Brian song public domain photography, which often influences what show I'm going to do. Dick Prinicky. Do Section 230. I could do 3D movies in general. Nicholas Rowe. Man, that's an awful good I could do Nicholas Rowe. I guess it's impossible to have a good connection with everyone you interview. It's not, really. I think I've interviewed thousands of people, and I could probably count on one hand the ones that didn't go well. So many great Nicolas Cage movies. If you don't like Cage, maybe you like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. He makes fun of himself throughout the movie. Dupa, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is a fabulous movie. Just a fabulous movie. Next time I'm chatting with my brother, we'll call in together. I miss our old calls. So do I, John. So do I. Victor says, I did and paid the extra $19 I owed in taxes. Yeah. Tim Jenkinson says, I have a feeling tomorrow will be the career and life of Nicolas Cage. Well, it would be, but we just did a celebrity career and life. That is funny. Career and life. So I've got to kind of do something else. I was going to do one about the show, the booth at the end, which is just a really interesting show that I like, but I'm trying to get higher ratings and maybe some super chats and memberships once in a while, which is apparently just failing miserably. The show's got to grow more. You see, we need more growing. When you smart, influential people share one of the shows, not necessarily this one, but one you really like that you think is awesome, then your friends watch it and then maybe they'll like it because you are such a great judge of good taste and entertainment. I'm banking on that. I'm totally banking on that. Nicholas Rowe would be a great show. You know what? I kind of got to figure this out tonight because I got an appointment in the morning. Brian's song, not too bad. Let's see here. That's funny. I blame China banning Google for this show not growing. I do too. I brought a bird cage the other day. Asked the Kirk if they had any nickel. He said no, so I asked him, so it's Nichols cage? I do not understand. It's a Nichols cage. I don't understand what that means. Oh, Nicholas Cage. Nicholas Cage. Yes, I get it now. That's good. That's a funny one. You could also contact Chris James and do a focus on Not Even a Show. That's what turned me onto your show. If I knew how to contact Chris James, I would. Plus, he's busy. He's got a new child, and he didn't want to be on this show. He's got better things to do. Although it's a damn fine suggestion. That is a damn fine suggestion. I could do one on the biathlon. Let's see here. Oh, I could do one on who's on first. Me not English good make, says Doc. Let me see here if I could do one on. Here we go. I could do one on who's on first. You know what? Wow. You know what? I'm going to do one on who's on first. I am. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do one because it's baseball season. You guys, who's on first? You know who's on first, right? I'm going to do one on who's on first. Yes, Dupa remembers now. Sorry, thinking of leaving Las Vegas. Got mixed up with casino. Yeah, that's okay. So what's the guy's name on first? Who? Tim Jenkinson says that's the one where he's an alcoholic, isn't it? You betcha. It's also the one with Elizabeth. Daggone it. Daggone it. Elizabeth Shue. God, is she gorgeous. Man. You're an amazing memory, my friend. Yes, you do. So tomorrow's going to be Who's on First. You could cover crazy Japanese game shows. Well, let me see here. Let me see if I want to do that. I don't know. That'd take a lot more research than I have time to do tonight. That's a good topic, though. The guy on first, what's his name? Who? Elizabeth Shue. Yeah, I already got it. Dupa says, I'm sorry my memory is bad, but I do remember you calling in. Can't remember the conversation, but I will check out your channel. Yeah, check out his channel. Japs are always trying to scare people to death. They really are. There's actually a game show called I Survived a Japanese Game Show. Not a game show, a reality show. But anyway, I got to get going here, kids, because I'm starving to death, and I have a big appointment in the morning, and I think there's a haircut in the offing here tonight. What do you think? Can I go to an interview? Not an interview, a meeting, a thing where I have to close a big deal with this hair. I think I should cut it. I really do. I think it needs a cutting. That's what you're asking. Okay. Enjoy the food and good luck with the appointment. Thank you. Co-join twins. We had a few unique situations. Wow, man. Maybe we should have them on tomorrow. Anyway. All right, kids. Look, I'm looking at that old clock on the wall. And like the Reverend Al Green, I got to get up on out of here. You do not have to go home, but you can't stay here. You can't. I think the only thing left to say is good luck, and you look like a hippie. Hair looks fine. Good luck tomorrow. You know, I could. It's not that long. It's just messed up on this side because I went running. I don't know. You know what? I could get up in the morning and do it. Doc says, even though I was late, this is still fun as always. Oh, that's okay. Good night, Tom, and everyone in chat. Good night to you, Dupa. And, wow. Well, we pitched a shutout again today in the old. Yeah, that's all right. And Don Rickles, you know. Not a single, yeah. Okay, so I think the only thing left to say is, till next time, we'll see you next time.
1, 2, 3, 4. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking